What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of album number 6 by the metalcore band Blessthefall. It's called Hard Feelings. This is their first studio album since 2015's To Those Left Behind, and while I haven't been as big on them in recent years, they were always a metalcore act that stood out to me because there's just such a vast sea of generic metalcore stuff that just sounds dime a dozen, just super flimsy. It just doesn't really have a backbone to it because they're like saying and doing the same things that everyone else is doing. You know, it's just like you can predict every turn that they're going to take. Blessthefall, I always felt like stood out a little bit from the norm. Not always, but a lot of the time. So I find them to be quite likable. I've been a fan as long as like 2009. I think that's when I got into them. I got into the album Witness, and then I wasn't huge on Awakening, but there were some great tracks on there like Bottom Feeder that I really got into. I think I initially discovered this band actually thanks to the game Tap Tap Revenge. Only the 2010s kids will remember. When they first unveiled the album art for Hard Feelings, I immediately got 1975 vibes. No, not the year, I'm talking about the band, the 1975. They used on their album I Like It When You Sleep, they used the whole pink neon thing, and I feel like I'm seeing that everywhere now. It's just like everybody's using some form of like neon. Oh wait, I use it too. Never mind, I'll zip it. No, but on a real note, I actually did kind of fear that they were going pop. I was like, oh my god, is this like the album where they like stop screaming and they just go for a really commercial sound? And that is not the case here. It's definitely a little bit softer in some ways, but there is a lot of screaming, a lot of intensity, and plenty of guitars. In fact, I would dare say that they remind me of Icy Stars on this record, and some of the best Icy Stars stuff. I know I've previously mentioned that I've kind of struggled with Icy Stars as I've gotten older. I kind of grew out of them, but I also did enjoy their last full-length record, so I was feeling kind of mixed, and this reminds me of the last Icy Stars album, but in a good way. I think that they pulled together a lot of electronic sounds and some harsh breakdowns to just make a really cohesive and effective record. I have to say that I keep coming back to this because it has a certain allure and appeal to it. Blessthefall have pretty much been on Fearless Records their entire career other than their debut album His Last Walk, but this is their first release for Rise Records. And Rise and I have kind of a weird relationship in history just because I'm not super into a lot of their artists, and I feel like a lot of people that are on Rise often go for a very similar type sound, and I'm pleased to say that that doesn't seem to have affected them here. I really like Bo on this record, Bo Boken, the lead singer of this band, because some of these tracks, they do get kind of personal, and I like getting that detail and that glimpse into his life. He's obviously 36 years old at this point. He's not a young guy, he has a family, he's married to the Canadian pop singer Lights, and I really like her music as well. They make a really good couple, and the fact that he has to go back out on the road is something that he writes about on this record a few times, and I think that Sleepless in Phoenix is one of those moments. This is a great track that really shows off Bo's vocals, and I like the slow start on this one. You get a little bit of programming there, and then the guitars are kind of loose, and that is super effective on this track. They make an impactful statement, and it lets you focus on the vibe of the song, and I'm definitely getting something that kind of conjures up an image of the 2000s in terms of its musicality, and that's not a bad thing whatsoever. The guitar tone here is great, and the chorus really hits home. It sells you on the emotions, and not only that track, but also the closer for this record I found to be really, really good and almost a little bit sad. Welcome Home. This track definitely has another vibe that reminds me of a little bit of an older style of music, and I would just describe this as kind of an anthemic rock track for anybody who is missing someone and is out on the road, perhaps has to travel a lot for their career and their job, and are missing their family, missing their daughter, and that's what Bo's doing here. And this track is capped off by a big guitar solo that's really, really nice, and also a little message from his daughter, Rocket. If you're worried about having to dig around for the harder hitting and the heavier, more menacing moments on this record, don't worry. You're not going to have to look too hard. The opening moment on this record, Wishful Sinking, is super, super good. I love sinking my teeth into this one because it has kind of this really stuttered part in there where there's a little bit of an electronic glitch and then like a guitar breakdown that really just takes you by surprise. It's a great and super, super good moment on this record. One of my favorite tracks here, to be quite honest. That one, and also a track that comes in the middle of this album, Cutthroat, I believe both of those were actually singles, are both really heavy hitters. And this one comes out the gate swinging, and it really doesn't mince with words. It's just ready to be on the attack. It's a little bit brutal, but also there's a little bit of calm in the storm as well. Both of these tracks are pretty well written as well. I like the lyrical statement on a Wishful Sinking in particular. I tried to save you, but what were you thinking? Is the scream that's really just well pronounced on this one. And it kind of slams home. And even on Cutthroat, I like the opening, just the way that it's so aggressive. Fuck all y'all can suck my dick. I also really enjoy the vibe of Find Yourself, Sakura Blues, that comes near the end of this. I think it has a bit of a varied instrumental that makes it stand out, and even the vocal performance is worthy of praise. And then another track I could say similar things about is I'm Over Being underrated, that is, of course, that's thrown in parentheses. And that one might just have one of my favorite instrumentals. It starts off with a little bit of an electronic flourish, and then it moves into something guitar-driven, obviously, but it's heavy, but it's not like heavy in the sense of maybe what you're expecting for metalcore. Just listen to it for yourself. I think you'll like it. Unfortunately, some of these cuts feel a little bit generic, and overall the album can get a little bit tedious just because of some monotonous and repetitive themes, but then again, it's metalcore, so I'm not expecting like the world, I guess I should say. I'm not expecting every song to just be so different and so unique, but somehow still connected. It is very connected, and I think it does a good job as a metalcore album. But there's a few tracks like Melodramatic that I'm not as big on, and also Feeling Low. That one just feels very limited lyrically. It doesn't exactly push anything. And not that all of these songs are just so strong, I just feel like maybe the instrumental, the guitar tones, and the drum patterns and stuff like that aren't standing out to me as much on that track, so therefore I'm forced to focus on the lyrics, which aren't exactly up to par. I think this is a pretty solid album from Blessthefall. I really wasn't expecting it, and it took me a little bit by surprise, but I'm more than okay with that. I was proved wrong here. The new album, Hard Feelings, is different, but at this point, I would probably list this as one of my favorite Blessthefall albums, if not my favorite, especially at this point in my life. I'm curious to know, though, what do you guys think of the new Blessthefall record, Hard Feelings? Please sound off in the comment section down below. Me personally, this is getting a strong 3.5. Don't forget to drop a like on the video while you're here, and if you're able to, please support me on Patreon at the top link in the description. You can go directly to my Patreon by tapping that annotation over in the corner of the screen. It helps videos like this keep coming on a monthly basis on both of my channels. If you would like to see another Blessthefall review, you can tap right here, or another recent video I did on the channel right over here. All of my social media accounts are linked in the description, and I'll see you soon on ARTV.